There's a halo on that truck. Won't you please get it for me?
In the early 70s, Tom Verlaine and Richard Hell, who were schoolmates in a school in Delaware, separately ran away to New York to be poets. And they got together in New York with a couple of other people and formed a band called Neon Boys, which lasted until the following year. It broke up in 1973, and then the following day they reformed as Television. They played around the New York scene for a while, and around 1975, Richard Hell left over artistic differences. I know it's a classic thing to say. Apparently, the other members of the band had gained confidence and learned to play their instruments, and Richard Hell refused to learn to play properly. And so he left and was replaced by Fred Smith, who was previously in Blondie. They were both bassists. After 2 more years, their first album was released. Their second album was released the following year, and then they split up. In 1992, they reformed. They released another album, and they have performed live sporadically ever since. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the second album by Television. It's my first time listening to them, but I have come across them as a band before. So I feel with this album that it's definitely an album that seemed to have been culturally significant. I definitely realised that the band were culturally significant, and they're well thought of as coming out of the New York punk / new wave scene at the time, possibly were quite influential in setting that scene. So I feel like there's somewhat of a pressure on me to kind of socially that I should like this. This is an important album, and I should really embrace this. Well, we'll come back to that. They're fairly direct songs. They're short and poppy. Definitely kind of fits in my head with this idea of new wave. It's kind of pop rock, I guess. And apparently we're at the birth of new wave here. I can believe that. The instruments used there are 2 clean but somewhat jangly guitars. There's bass and drums and vocals. And the 2 guitars often have kind of an interplay where they're kind of it's not like one's rhythm and one's lead. They have complementary lines that sometimes can work quite well together. And the thing that was distinguishing them from the other stuff that was around at the time that was labelled as punk was the fact that they had clean sounds on their guitars. Tom Verlaine has quite a distinctive voice. There's a bit of a twang to it. It reminds me, I don't know if anyone's going to shoot me down for this, but it reminds me of Stan Ridgway in terms of the kind of slightly countrified twang to it. I didn't pick up much on the lyrics. It's not easy to, because they're quite down in the mix and they're not necessarily easy to understand. Generally, they didn't strike me as anything that was that special. Maybe I wasn't listening carefully enough. Maybe there is a whole lot of quality in there that I haven't picked up. So, apologies to Television for maybe not giving it my full attention absolutely 100% of the time. So mostly I would say that it's okay. It's not impacted me hugely. It's not something that I would seek out to listen to again, but it's not something I would tell someone to, ask someone to put off or switch over if it came on the radio. It's not that bad. It's not that good. That's how I feel. So I'm going to emphasise I can understand, I think, the cultural place of this. Just as a listening experience, it didn't really appeal to me hugely. It wasn't bad. My favourite bit in it is probably there's a bit of a breakdown in the last track, which is called The Dream's Dream, and I enjoyed that bit particularly. So that's what I think of this album, and I'd love to know what you think, so please don't be shy. Talk to me through the comments box, and that's it from me for now.